from WNYT, Albany, in HD. This is Forum 13.
Good morning, I'm Phil Bailey. Thanks for joining us on Forum 13. Divorce is never easy, even the so-called easy ones, but there's no reason for the mechanism to aggravate the situation, and that's the premise upon which an organization has been founded. We're joined by Mary O'Connor, who is a psychologist, Dr. Mary O'Connor.
Hi, Phil.
And Joanne Chartrand, who is an attorney.
Yeah.
And they both belong to the
Right.
Collaborative Divorce Association. Thanks very much for joining us. So chime in whenever you want to. What are we talking about here when we say collaborative divorce?
It's a group of professionals, mental health professionals, attorneys, financial specialists, who work together with clients going through divorce to help them through the process and to make the right decisions for them and their family. The hallmark of collaborative divorce is a commitment on behalf of the clients and the attorneys to stay out of court. It's a strong commitment. They actually sign an agreement. We have a ceremony at the beginning of the process where they sign a participation agreement, and the clients and the attorneys agree to stay out of court. And if the collaborative process itself breaks down, the attorneys cannot later represent the clients in the courtroom.
And the hope is for a less confrontational process?
Yes, Phil. The whole process is based upon not litigating, not being combative, not being antagonistic, but in fact being cooperative, so that from the interdisciplinary team point of view, the mental health person, such as myself, would be a coach that would bring the two parties together around mutual or common goals, and then we keep them focused on those common goals in order to find an agreement that meets everyone's needs and pays attention to what the specific issues are for the couple. And that's particularly important with couples who have children, who will need to have a positive cooperative parenting relationship throughout the life of that child. So I certainly Joanne can speak to this, but I think the process of litigating in court often leads to a very combative, antagonistic feeling, which creates more wounds and more shame for the couple, and it makes it even more difficult for that cooperative parenting relationship to take root and really flourish.
Interesting, because you're a psychologist, and I would guess a lot of the time, the reason for that combat sometimes is just not necessarily, you tell me if I'm reaching, not necessarily because of the divorce, but because of the anger associated with the reasons that there is a divorce. And this is a way I can get you.
Well, absolutely. People don't get married on that day and think, oh, goody, you know, we'll have a really nasty divorce several years down the road. You know, but that process of dividing the partnership and divorcing is a culmination of many wounds, disappointments, hurts, betrayals that build up and create resentment that becomes unbearable for people. And so this is their desperate effort to make a change and to get to a healthier place in their respective lives. The problem is that when you take that into the current court system that we have with litigation, it becomes so adversarial, and sometimes people use that as a club to sort of vindicate themselves, to shame the other party, to sort of punish them for wounds or betrayals that they felt through the course of the marriage, and that's just not a healthy process. I don't know of anyone who goes through that process who feels like they've received justice at the end.
I want to ask you one more thing, and Joanne, I'm not ignoring you, but you know, on this psychological aspect of those court divorces, how easy is it then to talk them down when they come to you? Because I'm sure the anger is there. If there is anger, there's going to be anger. So how easy is it for you, and how complicated is it to talk them down?
Great question, Phil. As Joanne said, when people come to the collaborative process, they sign an agreement to do that. And that means that they start out with a strong desire to want to engage in some sort of cooperative negotiated settlement. Particularly for many people, it's driven by a desire to be good to their children and to create an optimal, healthy relationship with their children that can go forward through their life. So yes, they come with a lot of anger, but they also come strongly motivated to get beyond that and to create these kinds of healthy partnerships and healthy agreements. So it's actually not that difficult. There are flare-ups, there are moments in the collaborative process where my job as a coach is to intervene and keep people focused on what the goals are. But most of the time, I think people are ready to get beyond the hurt and the wounds and get to a healthier place.
And you are dealing with people who came to you in the first place instead of going straight to an attack attorney.
Right.
All right.
Well, the vast majority of clients who call me will start off by saying, I do not want this to be contentious. And one of the things we've learned in the collaborative process is that although many things have gone wrong in their marriage, there is a lot of things that have been done right. And so one of the things we start with is we start with having them develop something called a common values statement. What are things that they both agree on have worked well in the marriage? A lot of times that is around the area of parenting. What do they want for their children? What do they want for their future and their family? And we find that usually they can identify about 7 to 10 items that they both agree on that they want. And we use those common values as a framework to proceed forward in working out their divorce.
You've mentioned 2 reasons to at least to come into collaborative divorce: mutual respect,
Yes.
Children,
Yes.
so that you're always married to each other in one sense or another.
Your partners in parenting.
Another big issue in divorce is money. Can this be a cheaper process than going to court?
I hate to use the word cheaper because I don't want people to choose it because it's less expensive. I think it can be less expensive because...
It's not a bad reason.
No, I know, but sometimes it devalues a process. And I think this process has a lot of value. And what we find is because they spend a lot of time with their divorce coaches and outside the court system resolving things like parenting, they will spend less money because sometimes they're sharing a divorce coach and sharing the cost of that. They generally will commit to share the cost of the whole process, so they're very conscious about how much they're spending. It's also extremely client controlled, and it's difficult sometimes for the attorneys in the process because we back up in these meetings and we let the clients have conversations with each other about the important issues. And so they control the process, they control what they want to talk about, and they control how long they're going to talk about it. So they have a lot of control over the ultimate cost.
So this does sound like it has the ingredients to make it a more affordable process.
Yes.
There's another one you and I were talking about before we went on the air, and that's privacy.
Yes, because you stay out of the court system, and the agreement that you reach is a private agreement, there's no reason for anyone to know anything about your agreement. When you go into the court system now, courtrooms are open to the public. So anybody can walk into the courtroom during your trial or during court proceedings and overhear what's going on. When you get into family court, oftentimes you're in a very large room with 50 other parties going through the same thing, and the conversations that you have about settling your case many times occur right in those large rooms within the hearing of all the other people in the room.
Though in the end, I'm sure a legal document is an end result. So if somebody thinks they can go through this and never get on the radar, I'm sure there's a legal document that has to be filed in courts, because it's still a legal divorce,
yes.
right?
Yes, we draft a document called a marital settlement agreement. Yeah. And with that marital settlement agreement, at the end, the parties will process divorce papers under the new no-fault divorce law. They don't have to go into the court. Those papers are processed and sent to a judge's chambers, and the judge will review the papers and sign the divorce papers and send them back to the attorneys.
So in the end, there will be a legal document somebody could trace saying that you were divorced, but it would spare you the ugly details ever going public.
Yeah, the underlying documents in a divorce are confidential in the court system. You have to be either one of the parties or their designated attorney to have access to those.
Yeah, really interesting. All right, you're a psychologist, Mary.
Yes.
There are also financial planners involved?
Yes, the allied professionals that create this interdisciplinary team include mental health professionals such as myself, someone called a child specialist, which is a child development specialist that can help guide and coach parents on how to best present the divorce to the children, what might be an optimal co-parenting plan depending on the ages and the needs of the children. And so it gives parents, you know, I think a much better insight into how to move forward and develop that healthy relationship that can be sustained over the lifetime of the child. And then there are financial analysts who come in order to sort of run through various numbers and take a look at how these two can have a good, equitable distribution of income that supports their children. One of the things that Joanne said a few times was about control, and I think one of the greatest gifts of this process, especially for parents who are separating, is that they have more control over that time with their children and how they're going to organize and structure that time so that children can fully take advantage of two parental homes and the best that each of those parents have. In the litigated divorce, a judge oftentimes makes that decision, and parents feel very out of control. And sometimes that doesn't meet the developmental needs of the child, which then just creates more problems down the line. So the opportunity to have that control over financial disbursements and custody and co-parenting is just really a gift here.
So you sign an agreement, the participants, the divorcing couple signs an agreement in the beginning, saying this is the path they're going to take. Can they opt out down the road if they're just not satisfied? Can they bail?
Yes.
Yes, they have a requirement, unless it's an emergency situation, to give 30 days notice. And then that terminates the collaborative process because, as I explained before, the attorneys can no longer represent them. So they would then have to go out and hire a new attorney to pursue any kind of court litigation. Now, of course, if there's an emergency situation, for instance, a domestic violence incident or some sort of emergency need for money, they wouldn't have to file that 30-day rule, and they could go into the courts immediately.
Why require them to get a new attorney?
Because what we're trying to do is motivate the attorneys as well as the clients to use our best conflict resolution skills to help resolve this. And I should say this as well, the attorneys in the process have all been trained to work collaboratively, and they have extensive conflict resolution training. We have, as part of our Collaborative Divorce Association in the Capital District, what we do is we have trainings so that every 3 or 4 months we bring in some sort of expert in a particular field that's helpful to us to give us more training.
So can any attorney participate in collaborative divorce, or do they have to get certification of some sort?
They have to go through a basic collaborative divorce training, join the organization. They have to have, within 2 years, they have to get a certain level, a number of hours in conflict resolution. And our mental health professionals also have to go through the training and have to have a certain skill set. There's an international organization called the International Association of Collaborative Professionals, and they have actually rules with regard to the level of training needed.
So everyone on that interdisciplinary team has been through the training, and at least in the Capital District, I believe all of us are also part of that International Association of Collaborative Professionals. We all maintain an active membership in that group as well. So when people come to us, they're getting some very extensive, trained, skilled professionals who've worked in this arena, both in the litigation end and in the collaborative end for quite some time.
Where are you located? The Collaborative Divorce Association? Is that the
Well, it's we have the Collaborative Divorce Association of the Capital District, which is 40 attorneys. I think there's 17 mental health professionals and about 7 or 8 financial specialists, and they're throughout the Capital District area. So Albany, Schenectady, Rensselaer, Saratoga. Fulton, Montgomery, all over. We also have a smaller group called Collaborative North that's positioned in Saratoga, Washington County, and we meet regularly as well as a group up north.
How many, how new is this? How many couples are participating?
I think this group is about 4 years old in the Capital District, or is it older than that, Joanne?
Well, we started the planning process in 2007, but I would say we probably didn't get really up and running until about 2009. I honestly don't know the answer about how many couples have participated because we have so many attorneys in the group that You know, I don't really know the statistics on how many have done a collaborative divorce.
Are you still in the process, you think, of getting word out? I mean,
Yes.
does
Yes.
this make, you know, so much sense to you that you wonder why a lot more people aren't doing it?
Yes, and one of the reasons I was one of the founding members of the organization was because we were so dissatisfied with how the process was working in the court system. It was stressful to the clients, and it was very stressful to the professionals involved as well. And we really wanted to start a whole new way of practicing. So my goal really is to have every matrimonial attorney in the Capital District area trained as a collaborative divorce attorney.
How is this being received in the legal profession?
I think it's being received well. I mean, we don't have a huge matrimonial bar, and like I said, we have 40 attorneys so far that have been trained. So I think that there are some people attorneys that have been practicing for a very long time that maybe feel that it's too difficult for them to change the way they do things. But we actually recently did a program at the law school in the matrimonial law class, and it was very well received by the new law students coming out.
I don't want to, I'm not trying to introduce cynicism, but is it fair to say an attorney is likely to make less money as a collaborative attorney than going to court and they're going to have some cases that are just combative, and in some of those situations we know, you know, the earnings go up?
I don't know. I guess I feel that in this economy, certainly you can bill a lot more hours in a very contentious divorce, but whether you're ultimately going to pay for all the work that you put into it, because at some point people run out of money. So I don't, in my practice, I don't feel that it's affected me economically.
Yeah.
What I've heard, Philip, from the attorneys that I've had contact with is that people enjoy the work more. They don't take a loss in terms of their overall income, and they feel that they're much more effective and productive. At least that's what I've heard. I think I saw some statistics from the International Association of Collaborative Professionals, and so they've garnered statistics for the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years internationally, that about 88% of these cases settle somewhere between 2 and 8 and 9 months, and that's remarkable. That's a remarkably short time frame for people to go through this process.
Where can people find you? We got to go. Very interesting. Where can people find you?
We have a website, collaborativedivorceassociation.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Collaborative North.
All right, and we're going to provide a link at our website too at WNYT.com. Try to make it as easy as possible. So Joran Chartrand and Mary O'Connor with the Collaborative Divorce Association, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us on Forum 13. We're going to be right back.